Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me Patrick Cooney, co-founder and president at PowerBroker AI. Patrick, how's it going today?
Going great, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. We are recording on August 21st, and the weather in Atlanta seems to start to break. Finally, after months at 95 degrees and 95% humidity. Personally, I was gone the last 4 weeks or so, but it's very nice to see the temperature starting to come down now that I'm back. How was your summer, and how is Birmingham, Alabama this time of year?
Yeah, Birmingham's warm. PowerBroker is based in San Francisco. I live in Birmingham. It's where I was born and raised. So summer's been good. Lots of traveling, lots of insurance conventions we've been going to. So Mexico City, Chicago, all over. So can't really complain. But yeah, Birmingham's just as hot as Atlanta, I'd bet.
That's kind of what I figured. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
What is PowerBroker AI?
Yeah, so PowerBroker AI, we're primarily serving retail wholesale agencies in North America. We actually picked up our first customer in the UK, so super excited about that. But what we've done is we built a brain for insurance. That brain can audit a policy, so it can check for coverage, right? It can identify a line of coverage and go through the policy, tell you what's included, what's been excluded, most importantly, what's been omitted. We can customize that per agency. We're also building industry specialization. So looking at things like construction and verticals where there's specialization, the tool's beginning to incorporate that. That same tool can compare documents, so it solves workflows, right? Like if we're remarketing or working through renewals, we can rapidly compare those. We also extract information, right? So we can take doc information out of things like SOVs, or we can read contract requirements and analyze those and tell you what's in a contract. We can compare that information to other documents like a policy, and we can also feed that information into other operating systems like an AMS. We do this stuff. We do it very quickly. We do it with expert accuracy. We leverage AI, and it's all done here in the United States, so we don't outsource anything overseas. So data security is top of mind for us. We notice for our customers, but yeah, that's what we do in a nutshell.
Okay, so an extra brain trained for insurance. Okay, so I grew up as in the carrier side. I was never in the agency side, but on the agency side, it does. My understanding is definitely that since you're dealing with multiple carriers, and since you're kind of negotiating back and forth with those carriers on pricing and conditions and what to put into the policy and what they don't want to put into the policy, and it's your on the line.
Yep.
Right. So yes, this process of making sure the policy is what we told the client it was.
Yep.
Once it comes in, it's kind of a huge deal. What does it look like?
Yeah.
How does it integrate with my existing AMS?
Yeah. So what we do is we have a platform that you can utilize. We also can work from email. It's super easy. It's very intuitive to use the tool, right? So, when we think about selling new business, right, within a brokerage, and we want to sell with technical acumen, right, we need to be able to audit a policy. Now, what does it take to audit a policy? It takes acumen, right? And what we know in the industry, whether you're working for a carrier or an agency, it's really hard to find people these days. It's really hard to train them, and it's even harder to retain them, right? So our tool essentially gives every agency scalable technical acumen that they can leverage in various workflows. So when we think about the production workflow of, hey, I got a competitor's policy in, a competitor as another retail agency, and I need to audit and look for coverage gaps or deficiencies. You send it to PowerBroker. We very quickly turn around and audit, and in the audit, it gives you a very, very granular analysis of what's in the policy, what's been excluded from the policy, and what's also been omitted or left silent in the policy. And as you know, like you're a CPCU, right? Omissions and coverage are really hard to spot. Sometimes carriers are sending back a policy 90 days out, right? A renewed policy 90 days out and not even telling the retail broker the difference between the two, right? So this tool, it's solving a few problems within the agency. One, sort of like scalable technical acumen, right? But also it's just a very intuitive tool for people to like utilize to generate new revenue, right? And as we look at, the life cycle of that policy, once that new business is won and we bind coverage, right? Or we're comparing quotes before we make that decision, we're looking at basically validating that information in what we call a policy check, right? So a lot of folks these days are outsourcing that overseas. But we at PowerBroker, we think we've created a better experience where you can work through all this work quicker, right? At a lower cost, right? So it's a lot of what we're doing. But for you to visualize it, I mean, not only do we input information to AMS, but we give people information in like usable outputs, right? So Excel spreadsheets or a PDF, things that they can incorporate into proposals or they can work with on their end. We're not trying to replace human beings. What we're trying to do is give those folks in the agency the ability to work with incredible efficacy and do 5 times as much without losing their mind.
Okay. Where did the idea come from? And how did you realize that you were the right people to solve this problem?
Yeah, so a little bit of background on me. I come from a long line of insurance entrepreneurs. As you know, it's a really interesting industry. My grandfather built an auto carrier that he ended up selling to Infinity, which is now Kemper. My dad built a very large wholesaler called CRC. So I grew up working in that business from a very, very early age. I have another uncle who's a vice chair of McGriff Siebels, and one other is a managing director at Aon. So come from one of those insurance families, grew up in the industry, fell asleep in bowls of soup at night, talking to my dad about insurance. First job out of college was with a London-based wholesaler. So I intimately understand the value chain. I left the industry though and began working in private equity and then ultimately built my own technology company, which I scaled and sold in 2022. But after that, I was looking for what I wanted to do next. And I met, there was a VC fund that introduced me to my co-founder, Marcus Gallagher. Marcus's background, he actually worked for 2 insurtechs, so Attune, and then was head of product at Coalition. And so we began sort of collaborating on ideas and came up with PowerBroker. And then our third co-founder, David Olson, Dave's built multiple tech organizations to significant scale. And so his involvement was very important given sort of the fact that he'd worked in highly regulated industries. So together we came up with PowerBroker. We put together a best-in-class assembly of design partners, so large middle market agencies. And, here we are now with dozens of customers. So it's been an exciting ride, and we're really excited to innovate on behalf of the industry.
That's fantastic. You've been doing this for about 1 year and 3 months, according to LinkedIn. So how long has the product been live?
We launched the product in January. We've been really working on PowerBroker since before what you saw on LinkedIn, right? And then everything came to fruition and we began building the business pre-launch, right? But we launched the product in January and really onboarded our first customers sort of like, February and early spring, right? Since then have been growing fairly rapidly. Initially, most of our customers were sort of larger agencies, middle market agencies. We've got a ton of industry connectivity. We were able to earn trust, right, from our customers very early on and create referenceable customers. And now starting to move down market as well to smaller agencies. There's just a ton of value that we create for agencies of all size. So,
Okay, that is a really cool background.
going behind me or my background?
Yes, no, that is a really cool background that you come from.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Significant insurance experience, like exposure everywhere. Very, 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 very cool. What are the clients saying about PowerBroker AI?
Yeah, I mean, there is an element of trust, right? Like they have to understand that they can trust the product, right? And we've invested a ton of money in accuracy. And the security is a big piece for our customers too. But the functionality, right? It's there's really great people in this industry, and they're really hard to find. And to give them sort of this ability to like do more work and focus on the things they want to be doing and like to do, like interfacing with customers or writing new business, I think they get really excited about it. I mean, for somebody to be able to send in a policy and do a coverage check in like 3 minutes, uh, it surprises them. They get really excited. We've heard everything from people like saying 4-letter words to like, this is unbelievable. And then also, I mean, obviously some of the comparison and policy checking tools, proposal building tools that we've built, right, that live more on the marketing and ops side of the business. I think those folks really like them too. And again, it's not meant to replace people, so no one's really adversarial. But it's just giving people the opportunity to learn how to use them and sort of like improve sort of like what they can do in a day's work. You look at the ability to, work through a quote comparison and generate a proposal in, 3 to 5 minutes versus 10 hours. Right. And
Oh,
it's,
the difference is absolutely massive. Yeah, there's the time savings, no question about that. What is the pricing like?
yeah. So pricing, what we do for sort of all of these, the tools is we understand what an agency, how much they're going to utilize it on an annual basis. And then we just standardize the price. We give them unlimited utilization so they don't have to think when and how to use it. They can just use it. And so we just give them a set fee, and typically it will be based on, how much work they're having to do on an annual basis, number of policies and quotes that they're touching, right? And the range there is, anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000 annually for most customers.
That's not bad at all. Like,
Great.
we in a couple of middle market policies, and you're covering the cost easily. The amount of time it's saving is absolutely massive.
It's
Uh,
time savings is really important. Now, out of the gate, it's hard to show a customer that ROI. What we do at the end of every month is we give them, these utilization reports that are very granular, right? So they can see that. But the the other tools that we've built that focus on new revenue generation, I think that's what's really exciting to a lot of these brokerages, right? And that's where we differentiate from competitors we've seen is we understand insurance enough to like build the products that are needed to help producers generate new revenue, even if they're, not validated producers or junior producers or new producers, right? So, I think that's exciting for brokerages as well, right? Because, as it's hard to find people to recruit in this industry. And on the production side, there's risk there, right? It's hard to train a new producer. It's hard to get them into policy and understanding a policy. And what we found is that that audit tool actually it helps with training acceleration as well, because you can look in to a policy and say, hey, this was an omission, or this was an exclusion, or we read this endorsement, and this is how coverage was modified. And it's just a lot easier to do that than leaning into a senior producer and saying, hey, will you go through this policy with me, right? Like, let's spend 8 hours doing that. So, it's super interesting to see.
Fantastic. What's in the development roadmap that you're excited about? You can already talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a big one that we're in the process of finalizing is policy checking, right? We've invested a ton across, obviously the audit tools, and then comparing information and generating proposals. And really the last piece is, checking policies. So I think we're all excited about that. We have a lot of customers that are asking us for that. There's sort of significant spend on that activity. We're building really powerful benchmarking tools as well, right? So we can read every word in a policy. And so the thought there is that we'll have, a lot of our existing customers de-identify data if they want to participate, but we can get very granular in showing people sort of, customer segmentation, markets, rates, et cetera, right? That I think is particularly exciting to them. So.
Fantastic. Perfect. Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you for your time. When this goes live, I will tag you and the company on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. It seems like a no-brainer.
I know, man. I mean, it's really cool to see. I mean, I think without Gen AI though, like no brokerage, or really the industry doesn't like software that much. And so it's like just super interesting to see. But next time in Atlanta, I'll reach out to you. I'm
Absolutely.
over there. So
Thank you.
definitely. All righty, bud. Thanks for your time.